The history of a certain wrestling show can be intertwined with the momentous championship changes that took place there. Money in the Bank is remembered for CM Punk beating John Cena in 2011. There are countless amazing WrestleMania belt swaps, and of course there was the brand-defining reign that began at Stomping Grounds 2019. You know the one, the really famous one. The one between that guy and that other guy. SummerSlam has also hosted its fair share of famous champion crowning moments, and we are here to lay out 10 of the very best. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are Ricochet beat Samoa Joe for the US belt. That was the one I was trying to think of earlier. Got there in the end. Anyway, here are the 10 best title changes in SummerSlam history. Join us. Number 10, the Ultimate Warrior defeats the Honky Tonk Man for the Intercontinental Championship. At the very first SummerSlam back in 1988, the Honky Tonk Man was supposed to defend his Intercontinental title against Brutus the Barber Beefcake. The Beefster, however, was put out of commission thanks to Ron Bass and those dastardly spurs of his. Thinking he was in the clear, Honky and his manager Jimmy Hart appeared at the pay-per-view to gloat and offer up a challenge for the belt. The Elvis impersonator's cockiness would prove to be his downfall, however, as the Ultimate Warrior came rushing down to the ring to accept the challenge. Just 31 seconds later, Warrior defeated the champion with a flurry of offense to win the belt and end Mr. Tonk Man's record-setting reign. It may not have been an epic or anything, but this short and sweet match gave SummerSlam its very first legendary moment. It also gave Howard Finkel a whopper of a headache when Warrior accidentally knocked him off the apron. Poor Fink. Number 9, Virgil defeats Ted DiBiase for the $1 Million Championship. The manager/bodyguard turning on their evil boss trope is one of the most tried and tested in all of pro wrestling. Batista turning on Triple H, Wardlow turning on MJF, Damien Mizdow turning on The Miz. You might think I included that last one as a joke, but I am deadly serious. In WWE's Golden Age, the best example of this formula was when long-suffering manservant Virgil finally had enough of Ted DiBiase. After years of doing the rich man's dirty work, Virgil stood up to the $1 Million Man at the 1991 Royal Rumble. After failing to wrest the $1 Million Championship from his former employer at WrestleMania, Virg defeated Ted at SummerSlam to pick up the gaudy but beautiful looking belt. Watching Virgil finally get his revenge on the man who had made his life a living hell for so long was beautifully cathartic. And hey, by becoming champion, Virgil joined a legacy that would one day include LA Knight and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's the only time you will hear those three names in the same sentence ever. Number 8, the Usos defeat the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The SummerSlam 2017 main card featured Shinsuke Nakamura losing to Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton beating Rusev in 10 seconds, and a match between Big Show and Big Cass featuring Enzo Amore in his underpants. And you're telling me there was no room for two of the best tag teams on the planet? Pull the other one. In spite of their place on the pre-show, the New Day and the Usos decided to wrestle like they were in the main event of WrestleMania. 2017 was a fantastic year for both of these teams, and this match was a highlight of their excellent rivalry. They put it all on the line to entertain the fans dumb enough to get into the arena early, eventually concluding nearly 20 minutes of action with a win for the Samoan Twins. New Day may have lost the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, but they and their opponents had just gained a whole new level of respect from wrestling fans across the world. Hey, finally a reason to watch the pre-show again. Even if no other pre-show match in history would ever live up to this one. Number 7, Bret Hart defeats The Undertaker for the WWE Championship. Did the Attitude Era begin with the Austin 316 promo? How about when the Scratch logo was introduced, or Vince McMahon running down Bret Hart following Survivor Series 97? Or maybe when Shawn Michaels came out on Raw that one time with a load of socks stuffed down his pants? All good answers, but you could also argue that it got underway at SummerSlam 1997. The main event of this show was The Undertaker defending his world title against Bret the Hitman Hart. Also involved was special guest referee Shawn Michaels, who thankfully hadn't stuffed his shorts on this occasion, that we know of. Instead, HBK accidentally smacked Taker with a chair to hand the match and the title to Hart. This came at the end of a brilliant contest in which both legendary grapplers pulled out all the stops. The errant chair shot led to a brief Michaels-Taker feud, which culminated with the first ever Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. It also started the HART title reign that would be ended by HBK at Survivor Series, aka that thing in Montreal that we are all sick of hearing about. Not only was the SummerSlam title change well worked, but it was pretty damn important too. Number 6, Brock Lesnar defeats John Cena for the WWE Championship. Some people watch wrestling for the intricate in-ring displays achieved by two top performers working in sync to tell stories through pure physicality. Others, well, they just like to watch big dudes clobber the stuffing out of other big dudes. If you fall into the latter of those categories, then do I have the match for you. There was some uncertainty over whether or not WWE would put their top title on Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2014. On one hand, he was a special attraction who had ended The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak earlier that year. On the other hand, he was a part-timer who wouldn't be around every week to show off the belt. That said, at the end of this match, there was no uncertainty at all. Lesnar demolished Cena, absolutely battering him from pillar to post. This was the most in peril fans had ever seen Cena, as the once mighty champion failed to hit any sort of meaningful offense on his opponents. This title change not only ushered in a new era, but it was also thoroughly entertaining for anyone who had cursed Johnny Boy's name over the past decade. And trust me, that was a lot of people. Number 5, Daniel Bryan defeats John Cena for the WWE Championship. 1 year before John Cena lost his world title to Lesnar, he lost another top prize to a very different kind of athlete. Daniel Bryan had slowly been getting over with the mainstream crowd since his debut in 2010. Thanks to his great work as part of Team Hell No, the American Dragon was handpicked by Big Match John to face him for the WWE title at the biggest party of the summer. D-Bry's incredible in-ring skill meant that he and Cena were able to have one of the best pure wrestling matches the show had ever seen. Not only did Bryan win the match and the title, but he did so clean as a sheet thanks to his debuting running knee finisher. This was Bryan's coming out party as a main eventer, proof that he could hang with the big boys and still look like $1,000,000. Fans just couldn't wait to see what this lengthy title reign would look like. Oh my god, here comes Randy Orton and he's just cashed in. Never mind. Still, at least this eventually led to Bryan's win at WrestleMania 30, which was the plan the whole time, wasn't it, guys? Number 4, Triple H defeats The Rock for the Intercontinental Championship. While Stone Cold Steve Austin may be the obvious answer to who The Rock's greatest career rival was, you could also make the case for a certain cerebral assassin. I mean, he definitely would, that's for sure. Triple H and the Brahma Bull spent most of 2000 trading the world title back and forth and had clashed a few times prior to the turn of the millennium. Arguably, their most famous lower card clash took place at SummerSlam 1998, a match with Rocky's Intercontinental Championship suspended above the ring. Dwayne and Hunter's chemistry together was off the charts, as shown in this fantastic display of in-ring narrative building. For over 25 minutes, the two men fought with and without the assistance of the hardware, getting help from their various stablemates along the way. In the end, a shot to the great ones from China gave the game enough of a window to reach the top of the ladder and claim the workhorse belt for the second time. The action was great, the story was great, we got to see a future Hollywood megastar get smacked in the balls. What is not to love about this excellent ladder match? Number 3, CM Punk defeats Jeff Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship. Let's stick with ladders for now as we talk about another match that served as the blow-off to a stunning feud. After CM Punk cashed in Money in the Bank on Jeff Hardy at Extreme Rules, the two heavily tattooed rivals faced each other pretty much non-stop until SummerSlam came around. Hardy, who had recaptured the belt since then, wanted to put Punk away once and for all in a match that he was a specialist in, TLC. Actually, come to think of it, has Jeff Hardy actually ever won a TLC match? Edge and Christian won the first couple, and I don't think the charismatic Enigma ever got his hand raised at any of the other ones. Oh no, Jeff, what have you done? True to form, Hardy didn't win this match either, but he sure did put on one hell of an entertaining show. These two men hit each other with everything that wasn't fastened down and a few things that were. The most famous spot in this match, of course, is the one where Jeff jumped down from what was essentially the upper stratosphere to hit Punk with one of the wildest swanton bombs of all time. And that, dear viewers, is saying something. Number 2, Brock Lesnar defeats The Rock for the WWE Championship. SummerSlam 2002 is widely considered to be the best iteration of the Big Four staple. With matches like Kurt Angle vs Rey Mysterio, Edge vs Eddie Guerrero, and the in-ring comeback of Shawn Michaels taking on Triple H, it's kinda hard to argue against that. Another tick in this show's plus column is its main event, a torch-passing present meets future match for the WWE title. The Rock was the title holder going into the show and was defending against that year's King of the Ring, Brock Lesnar. As you can imagine, the pair of studs put on a great show. Rock used all of his Academy Award-winning acting skills to put over how powerful Lesnar was, while still having plenty of veteran counters for the next big thing. After a wild brawl that saw Paul Heyman get put through a table, Brock beat Rock to become the youngest WWE champion of all time. Unfortunately, he would fail to capitalize on this monumental win and eventually fade into obscurity. Wait a second, no, the opposite. He did the opposite of that. Number 1, the British Bulldog defeats Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. Hey, it comes up all the time in lists about SummerSlam, but only because it's that damn good. SummerSlam 1992, Wembley Stadium in London, England. After realizing that us limeys like wrestling too, WWE held their second biggest show of the year on British shores and gave the country a main event for the ages. In one corner was Intercontinental Champion Bret Hart, one of the finest grapplers to ever grace the earth. In the other was hometown hero the British Bulldog, who was actually born about 200 miles up the road, but who's counting? These brothers-in-law put on one of the greatest in-ring wrestling displays in the history of the company to that point. Hart very much carried his, haggard foe to what was easily his greatest match ever, until Davey Boy sat on an attempted sunset flip to pin the Hitman and capture the gold. Hey, very rarely in wrestling does everything come together perfectly, but this was one of those times. The right wrestlers in the right setting in the right spot on the card, SummerSlam 1992 will always be remembered as the night Davey brought it home for old Blighty. God save our gracious Bulldog.